All right, so hi everyone who's here in the university present, and also to our audience online. I hope you can hear us well. If not, please raise your hand or let my colleague know in the chat. Welcome to the session. My name is Lena Fürst. I'm an advisor at GIZ Colombia, and I'm part of the Go Circular team, which is a project that works globally on the transformation towards a circular economy. And yeah, we have the pleasure to host this session today and to talk about the nexus between climate change and circular economy. But you won't only hear me talking. The idea is to, above all, listen to our country representatives, as well as from Germany, but also from 3 different countries from the region. We have Colombia, Brazil, and Costa Rica. So we're really excited to hear about the perspectives on how the different countries are working towards integrating circular economy and climate planning in their countries. And we will also hear from Martin, my colleague, on the tool that GIZ has developed to support countries in their efforts. So this is what we have planned today. Maybe we can switch to the next slide. Well, I think maybe we don't need too many housekeeping rules. You all look chill and very nice. So I think we will skip that. Just a quick note before we start this session, also to let you know that right after this, from 3 to 5, we have another Accelerator session, which is hosted by Prevent and German ReTech partnership. And this will also dive a bit deeper into the topic of climate change and mitigation and waste. And we will listen to some experiences with a GIZ calculator tool from Brazil. So also, if you want to scan the QR code and maybe register for this, you're highly welcome.
Sorry, is it English or Portuguese?
Yeah, I believe it's also in English, yeah.
The website was in Portuguese.
I think it's in English, yeah. Okay, so then it's time for the audience here, but also online. And you can already see we have a QR code here because we want to hear a bit from you. What are your impressions on 2 questions that we have prepared? So I invite you to just scan the QR code and give me a sign if you manage to enter the quiz, so we can move to the next slide. And I think that you are still scanning, and also in the chat, I think my colleague has posted the link. So I hope also that the people online are able to access it. If you want to pass, no problem. How are we doing here? Everyone on board? Okay, then I think we could move on. I actually don't know what you're seeing exactly, but I hope it's the first question. Yeah, perfect. So there you can see some of the most common circular economy approaches. And we would like to know from you, what do you think? Which of these options that you can see there are the ones that are most mentioned right now in the current NDCs of different countries? So we have second-hand, plastic waste measures, EPR, anaerobic digestion, but also waste reduction. So yeah, what do you think? Which of these measures are mostly used in current NDCs? Okay, we see some tendencies. Most people think the measures are focused around plastic waste, also EPR, and I have to do a little bit of math because there's food waste reduction twice. So in total, I think around 30%, which would be second place, right? I don't know if I should already give it away or wait for a little bit more, maybe some seconds more for you to decide. How are you doing here? Are you done with your voting? Yeah. Okay, so we see plastic waste. Half of every voter has opted for plastic waste measure. And then we have food waste reduction and extended producer responsibility. So yeah, actually, the most mentioned measure is anaerobic digestion, which you guys ignored. So that's interesting that there's a gap between what's actually reflected in the NDCs and what people would think. So maybe it also shows us that there's a great potential to include more plastic waste measures, actually. And after anaerobic digestion, then it's plastic waste, 7 mentions, EPR, and the lesser popular options are second-hand and food waste reduction, which is only mentioned once, I think you said in UK, right? So only one mention so far. Yeah, interesting. Thank you for participating. Let's move on to the next question. And here you can be a little bit more creative and put your own answers. So we want to know, oh, and I see you have already been creative. We wanted to know which circular economy measures do you think should be in the future in NDCs, because they are especially powerful to help with mitigation and adaptation efforts. So I don't know if you all already put in your answers here or in the online audience, but yeah, we see some general remarks like waste reduction, circular design, which is a good one, also regarding more like the upstream solutions, right? So that would be interesting. Again, food waste, really popular. So I think that's also something we should explore more. Extraction reduction, circular water. I think water for many countries is the important topic. I can only talk from my experience in Colombia, where yeah, it's always on the table as well if we talk about circular economy. What else? Reusable packaging, green energy, organic waste. Okay, so there are a lot of ideas, and there's no too clear tendency, right? So there's a lot of different approaches that we think could be interesting. And now I want to introduce you to my colleague Martin from GIZ, who might shed some light on the mitigation potentials and also adaptation potentials of different circularity measures. Martin, you have been working on a tool that helps countries to include more circular economy approaches in their NDCs. Yeah, and we're really excited to hear from you, especially with focus on the activity sheets that were developed, right? So, floor is yours.
Exactly, yes. Thank you, Lena. So, yeah, I can see the presentation well from here, so I know what I talk about. And I think we can start with the first slide already. And I think the first slide, that's the first slide of the presentation. Before was just, I think, myself. So the next one, please. Yes. So it was mentioned, Sissy, you said it, almost half of greenhouse gas emissions are emerged from production industries. And to us, I think it's obvious. To us, the circular economy community, we know about it. And as also you explained, Petra, obviously, if we do more reuse, if we design products so that they can be repaired, so that they can be recycled, of course, there will be less production. And with less production comes less greenhouse gas emissions from extracting materials and from producing products. So it's obvious to us, and we have the figures. We had the figures already for quite some years, actually. But we saw that there is a gap. So please, if we can switch to the next slide. We thought there is a gap between that knowledge and how to get that knowledge into international and national climate policies. And we were not the only people who had that impression. Also, our colleagues from the United Nations, UNEP, UNDP, and the UNFCCC Secretariat thought the same, and they came up with a 4 stages toolbox at the end of 2023, presented at COP28. The toolbox has 4 stages. The first one is about assessing the problem. So what is the current NDC saying? Which data do we have from which we can start from? Second step is the definition of the response. So what can we do? How can we increase circularity of NDCs? The third stage is the implementation of the measures, and the fourth one is about the tracking and reporting, which is very important in climate policies, right? You can only commit to measures, especially when it's about mitigation, which you can track. You can track the effect of them, and you can say after 10 years we have mitigated this amount of greenhouse gases. So if you click next, I think it will show up where we fit in. Exactly, thank you. So that was one too much, but I remember exactly, thank you. So as I said, we had a similar idea, and the UN toolbox is mainly, it's a set of, it refers to existing tools and methodologies. So it's a collection of several methodologies, and if you're at step 1.2 or 4.1, then the toolbox has a checklist and it directs you to the specific tools and methodologies out there which you can use. And we now had the chance to develop something to complement that toolbox with a very direct and forward methodology. And now I can switch to the next slide. So what we did was the guidance on decreasing NDC emissions through circular action. This is a document you see on the left side of both, and similar to the toolbox, the objective is to assist countries in increasing climate emissions through circular activities, circular economy activities. We want to target people who develop climate policy, especially NDCs, and the idea is to translate or convert the logics of circular economy as much as possible to the climate change language. So the guidance which you see on the left side is mainly two main steps. The first one is an analysis of existing NDC documents. We saw that many NDCs already mentioned circularity at a very high level. I think all three countries present today, Colombia, Brazil, and Costa Rica, do that. They all mention circular economy at strategic level, and also in some particular measures. I think Sandy will later give us an analysis of the Colombian NDC and how it refers to circularity, but we also saw that measures might not be called circular, but they are circular. For example, in agriculture, when you reduce food waste or food losses, or in the industry, if the processes are more efficient and they use less virgin material, it can be called circular. And that's what we did. We provided a guidance on how to identify the circularity in existing NDCs. And the second step is to identify and develop new NDC measures. And for this, we also created the second document, which you see on the right, which are the circular activity sheets. And I will right now enter into the circular activity sheets with the next slide, where we have 24 out of 27 measures. So the circular activity sheets explain each of these measures in a one-pager in English. And yeah, I will go through one sheet later to explain you how we describe these measures. As I said, we try to translate the measures as much as possible for climate people to understand what the impacts are. So we cover several on agriculture, food and nutrition, which are the green ones. Then we have included many on construction, actually. There's also one on adaptation in construction, modular building use, which is not shown here. We have one on transport, 3 on industry, industrial processes and product use, 3 on packaging, 2 on textiles, actually 3 on textiles. We had 3 more, but it would look strange if you attach 3 more in this order. Then we have waste management, which is a traditional focus of NDCs because IPCC reporting for the waste category is standard. 1 on wastewater and water, and 2 cross-cutting ones. So now I will go into one of these sheets, which starts on the next slide. It's about substituting part of the material used for the cement production by secondary material. And it's actually very popular. Many countries included it in their NDCs. I think including Colombia. I'm not sure about the other countries, but it's done a lot. It's not always referred to as circular, but it's a measure which can be considered as circular because secondary material is used, right? So what we do is we explain the category, how does the mitigation impact work? So what is the mitigation of climate change? Then we explain in the context how does it work. So we give a bit of context. What are the current emissions from cement production and how can we reduce them? What are maybe international standards? Then we always suggest instruments for implementation, in this case at the national and at the local level. So which laws, which regulations do we suggest for implementing the measure? We also always include co-benefits. In this case on adaptation, we have 4 of the activity sheets are focused on adaptation, not on mitigation. And for these, we do co-benefits on mitigation, but most of them are the other way around, like this one. But also co-benefits, financial co-benefits, social co-benefits, environmental, ecological co-benefits. We suggest indicators. In this case, we cite an international norm for cement, which could be used as an indicator. And it continues on the next slide, where we explain how the preconditions have to be right now so that it can be implemented. We also estimate how much time it would take to start the measure and to implement the measure. And we give the first idea of how to calculate the emission savings. So it's not a full calculation which can then later be used for the reporting, but it gives the users the first idea on how big the emission saving could be. Very important, we always refer to the IPCC guidelines because for climate reporting, not in the NDCs, but mainly in the national inventory reports, the countries have to follow the IPCC guidelines. So that's why we refer directly to them and to the volumes and worksheets of the IPCC guidelines, which can be helpful in that case. Well, then we explain which data are needed and what are further sources. And we always refer to countries which already implemented that measure. So I have to add in half of the activity sheets, we have a couple of countries which already did this measure, which implemented this measure, and in the other half they are maybe more innovative, so we didn't find any cases in our analysis. All right, you can download both documents, the NDC guidance and the activity sheets, if you use that guidance. I think we can also post the link in the chat for the online community. And I think as we are a bit behind time already, we can go to the next question for the audience, which is, I think this time it's a different QR code, so I'm afraid you have to take it again. And the question I can already share with you so that you can make up your mind while your browser is loading. The question is, can you think about any topic, any circular economy activity which should be added to the activity sheets? So you saw the overview, we can also show it later. But was there anything which you didn't see, which you think should be included in case that we update these activity sheets? So that's a question, and we already suggested some options, including black soldier fly. It's a topic with which I also work a lot. So it's a bit biased, but it's not as popular as it is with me in the audience, it seems. And I think you can also add additional ideas. So I think there's also a field if you want to suggest another activity sheet, you can also do that. Okay. I think people voted for other, but we don't really see what they wrote, what they suggested. Okay. But I think the first one, I don't really see it, but I think it's the most popular. Product is a service design, yes. That seems to be the most popular. Followed by digital circularity tools, which can also be interesting. Yeah, maybe to add, so these are very different. Also the activity sheets, some are at a higher level. We also have something like helping small and medium enterprises. And of course, the reporting of emission savings is much more difficult in these cases, but we try to cover several perspectives. So maybe in the next update, if we do one, we will include at least product as a service, including lifetime extension and digital circularity tools, because I understand that's your order to us. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right under the blower. Yeah. So thank you, Martin. Great work, and yeah, also call to action for the countries represented in the session today. That if you're interested in applying the tool that Martin presented, you can reach out to us. We are already working, for example, in Colombia, I think also South Africa, and are in conversation with other countries also because, of course, it's a global tool. So we have to really look into the details to see how it can be of best use for the countries who are in the process of updating their NDCs. Talking about countries and mentioning Colombia, I want to now welcome to the stage Slendiria. She is our final speaker today before the panel. She is a really renowned expert and passionate advocate for circular economy in Colombia and has been working for the Ministry of Environment, leading the circular economy agenda in your country. And yeah, we want to hear from you now how Colombia is working on integrating circular economy in the climate agenda. I know you've done some analysis, so yeah, over to you and let's hear it.
Thank you so much. Hello, thank you, Martin and GIZ Germany and GIZ Colombia. It is wonderful to be here sharing with you. And I find very relevant these exchange spaces because we need to learn from each other and we need to know not only the things that are working, but also the things that haven't been working, because it's so beautiful to see in the paper and the aspirations, but what are we doing and how are we really moving from the speech to the real field, to the real action and the countries. So I want to share to you some experiences and analysis that we have done in Colombia. Considering that we have the NDCs, we are in the updating process of the NDC, and how are we integrating the NDCs with the circular economy national agenda. So, can we please move to the next slide? The next one, please. Thank you. So the first thing that I want to mention to you is that we already have a circular economy strategy since 2019, and we have built this strategy based in a direct diagnosis that we did to figure out where do we have the opportunities, the big challenges and the big opportunities. So we prioritized 6 flows to how can we do circular economy, particularly in Colombia? Okay, go for the energy flow, the water flow, and also we have industrial materials, and we have packaging, and we have biomass, very relevant in our country because we are a very large country and we do have agricultural systems and forest, so biomass is really relevant, and the construction materials flow. So we have previously defined those are our priorities as a country. And we have also, one thing that I feel really proud of is that we have the information system. So we do have our indicators and we have the information system. So we have the tool to identify and to measure and to have the traceability of the circular performance of the country. So last year, I had the opportunity and the initiative to make an analysis to really know in an objective way how are we doing our job. So based on the previously implemented indicators, we did the analysis for each one of the prioritized flows. What did we find? What we could achieve? We were good on the industrial materials flow, on the energy flow. We have a nice performance and a medium performance in the construction materials. Not because we are not doing good, because we can't have the capacity to get the data from the construction and demolition waste. Yeah, we have been working in the regulation and we have some mechanisms, but people is not giving the information for us to know how good is the performance. Yeah? But what we did good is that we increased the sustainable construction in the country. But what didn't work as we expected the water flow. The water flow is really hard to us, also because of the data. We don't have enough data to check, but some targets are not being achieved yet. And the biomass flow also because data is hard to get. The sectors, the agricultural sectors that are directly related with the biomass are not giving us enough information to identify if we are achieving the targets related with the biomass recovery, the residual biomass recovery that we have in Colombia. So just to let you know that we have identified that our national circular economy strategy reports achievements in 72%, but we still have targets to 2030. So it's not bad. Yeah, we are. Well, I think it's a good result. Is telling us that people is committed to the circular economy in my country, but we need to go for more because if you are moving forward in the implementation plan, you can't stay in the same targets. You need to go for more and you need to update the action plan. So what is happening and what is next? Okay, once we have the circular economy conversation in the middle, we need to understand and to identify that circular economy is not an accelerator phenomenon. There is a climate change agenda in the middle, so we can find how to get involved with it. And we are a mega diverse country, so we're also losing biodiversity as many countries are losing biodiversity. So how can we integrate the agenda? So we have convergence of agendas in the updating of the National Circular Economy Roadmap. And that's what I want to tell to you, all of you today. Please go to the next one. Okay, so we have the climate change action plan. So we have 6 areas. The first one, circular economy, has been identified clearly as one of the relevant actions to achieve the climate targets. And also another one is the water security. And another one is the nature-based solutions. It's pretty obvious. Resilient urban planning. And we also have deforestation issues. So we have zero deforestation agreements, targets related to the deforestation. And we also have coastal and marine ecosystems, so the managing of this. So this is in general terms, the criteria that we have as a country related to the climate change agenda. And now we are going now to the NDCs. So we have some targets, and the NDC 2.0, the current NDC, defined one target related to the circular economy. Yeah. So yeah, we have seen that circular economy is relevant. So it is helpful for us. So we have the target 49, just this one. Okay. So what can we do? Waste management, yes, increase the capacity of the recovery and efficiency of the system and the coverage of the system. But circular economy is not only waste management. Yeah, so we need to take into account. So we have to reduce greenhouse emissions associated with ozone depletion substances. It is also another point of convergence, a cultural protocol. Okay, is immersing the NDC target with circular economy. And we need to work together with the private sector to strengthen the circular economy agenda. Circular economy is also a work that cannot be done alone. We need to work together. You have mentioned that before, with the sector, with communities, or with other institutions. Yeah, so we know that's because we have some other hard work to do is because we are the Colombian Ministry of Environment, and this is the climate change direction, and this is the biodiversity team, and this is the circular economy. Yes, of course, each topic needs to have together, but it doesn't mean that we can work together in the targets and the work done by some team can support the other teams. So most obvious thing is to work together and to integrate the agenda, the efforts, and to be harmonized in the implementation of the actions. And we also have other, like we have also the energy transition, the energy transition in the middle. So we have also to take into account that circular economy is also related to the energy transition because of the energy efficiency, that and the inner energies, of course. But the first thing that we have to do is to be more efficient in the use of the energy. And so we are promoting the thermal districts. Okay, also in the implementation, we don't have too much. And well, general terms, that's one target that we have. So we did some analysis about the other targets, and we found that we have more opportunities. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, here we are. So we have 47 targets, and we have 21 from mitigation and 13 for adaptation and these other targets. While doing an analysis, working together with the climate change team, we found some convergency. So this is not, this target is still defined and is under implementation. And some targets contribute also to the circular economy targets. Okay, so we define together that convergency. So we identified 2 targets that haven't been previously recognized as targets of the NDC that supported the circular economy agenda. And the most interesting thing is that people used to see that circular economy help us with the mitigation, but we have 2 targets of adaptation also. So the first message that I want to show. And we found 8 additional targets of mitigation and 1 more of implementation and mechanisms. What is the final result? That 23% of the targets mentioned at the NDC are contributing to both agendas, to the circular economy agenda and to the climate change agenda. So that's what we want to show you, because once we stop and think and integrate the criteria, you can find that convergency and you make it easy. The implementation plans for both agendas. We have been for 3 days talking about the traceability, the metrics, the indicators, and the implementation and real action and measuring the performance. So that is how we are doing this work. The next one, please. Yeah, so I have to go back. Just to make it in general terms, what we found some targets related to the water resource, the water efficiency, water treatment efficiency, to capture the biogas by the wastewater processes, and also from the landfills. If you bring that methane, you can reduce it instead of just directly send it to the atmosphere, and related to the private sectors and biomass recovery. And that's it. And thank you very much, because I think just some time.
Don't go, because you're also part of our panel. You can just stay here. We have 15 minutes left to deepen some aspects of this discussion, so you can stay, please. Cynthia, I would also invite you back, and then we have 1 additional speaker, Jelena Holska. Please join us as well for a final panel. Welcome, Jelena. Jelena, just to the audience as well, so you know who he is. He's a climate change mitigation and circular economy expert who's really knowledgeable about all the stuff we've been talking about today, right? And you have been accompanying different countries on their journey towards integrating or identifying measures of circular economy and how they can integrate them into their climate plans, right? So first question goes to what is the biggest challenge, in your opinion, in reporting climate impact through circular economy, and how can also the activity sheets that Martin has presented, and I think that you're aware of, kind of, yeah, help with, yeah. So that would be the question. I hand you the microphone.
Thank you for that question. And first of all, thank you very much for organizing this, and because I think we need a lot of speakers off the top on the relation between circular economy and climate change. And I'm also happy to be on a panel with, I think, some of the main speakers on that topic. Your question, I think the answer is actually a very technical answer, because what we do at Shifting Paradigms is that a country approaches the UN, and then we support the UN with analyzing circular economy opportunities. We map out resource flows from production, import, all the way to export and end of life. And all these materials, all these products you can express in tons, but also in tons of CO2 equivalents. And when you add that all up, you get to sort of a national production-based, typically, but it can also be consumption-based, total greenhouse gas footprint of the country. Now, and then when I get to the answer to the question, there's another world, and that's the world of the IPCC, which collects data, as well as essentially provides guidance to countries on how to report on greenhouse gas emissions. But they look at sources. And that's essentially the top-down approach. So they look at sort of all the fuels that are being consumed and combusted. They look at, so it's very much a top-down approach, which is perfect if you want to know quickly sort of arrive at a total footprint for a country. But if you're looking at identifying circular economy opportunities, you need the flows. You need to understand where products go, how they interrelate, and also make connections between the two. Some of agro-industrial waste is a perfect raw material for the building sector, for example. And that's a very different perspective from the IPCC perspective. And I think the challenge is to bring these worlds together. To go back to the activity sheets, what I like about the activity sheets is that they explain this. They point out where the reduction takes place, but also bring the link back to the IPCC guidance, and particularly so the IPCC sinks and sources of greenhouse gas emissions that are being affected by a circular economy intervention.
Yeah, thank you so much for pointing that out. I think that's really relevant, and that's something that's not too obvious for everyone when they first talk about this topic. Of course, we have to at least in the end report under the IPCC standard, but as you say, like to find out the opportunities, maybe we need to have a different lens on the topic. And yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. Cynthia, we have already heard from you as well, and you have been mentioning also how circular economy approaches can also not only help with climate change, as then you also pointed it out, how everything's basically interrelated, right? And you were mentioning as well biodiversity, which is a big topic for you coming from Costa Rica, such a diverse country. So I wanted to ask you if you have maybe an example from your experience on a circular measure that can target also climate change, but also biodiversity. Do you have anything in mind?
And thank you for the question. We see this goals coverage most clarity when circular principles are applied to bio-intensive sectors like agriculture, livestock, and forest management. A circular bioeconomy approach is essential. These innovations create high-value products and harnessing to biochemical potential of biodiversity while simultaneously address environmental challenges. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. One powerful example from Costa Rica is the circular valorization of the agricultural residues, particularly from coffee and pineapple production. The develop organic fertilizers and bioinputs. This practice reduces methane emissions from organic waste and eliminate the need to synthetic fertilizers, which are high emissions intensive. At the same time, the results will help protect freshwater ecosystem from agrochemical runoff and promote biodiversity with agricultural landscapes. These systems also empower smallholder farmers and strengthen local economies. It's clear we will, but for climatic and biodiversity. This effort is about adaptation and mitigation measures and in the coffee and the pineapple sectors, where reducing environmental impacts and promote innovation products, green jobs, and local economy benefits. Thank you.
So much, Cynthia. And Slendy, you already mentioned right now something that you're proud of, which is an information system, right? Because it's so important also to not only define the measures, but then you have to actually visualize them, measure them, and really show the impact you're having. So maybe you can share a bit about that, on how you are choosing indicators or monitoring system also in the framework of the NDC, and also measuring circular economy progress in this regard.
Thank you. Yes, there is an important thing to do before defining the indicators. I would suggest, it's not my personal opinion, but I think that you first have to search what do you have. The first thing that sometimes we don't know what do we have. So we have a large amount of indicators around the country, and we have the National Department of Statistics. So to me is the first source of information. And before defining the indicators that we have to implement for the monitoring of the targets of the circular NDCs, we have prioritized the indicators that have convergence between circular economy, because we have a lot of indicators. We have around 200 indicators to define the National Circular Economy Report, and they have statistic quality. So it's very important, if you have this quality information, to go first for the official source of information, and to see what of those indicators can be implemented. Also, they currently belong to the circular economy accountability, but they also work for the climate change accountability. So that's the integration also of the tools that we currently have. So that's the first choice. If we want to create one more, of course we can do it, but the first thing is to work with the things that we currently have.
Thank you so much. I think making things we have more robust and more measurable to really see the impact is an important point that you mentioned. Thank you. I wanted to also give the opportunity to the audience to make a question, or maybe also, Martin, I don't know if you know if there's something going on in the chat from the online community, but yeah, I don't know if you also here have a question to our panelists, then this is your moment. You can also do it in Portuguese or in Spanish. We are multilingual here and we will manage. So yeah, I don't know if there's anyone who is interested in some specific.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for the informative giving.
Yeah, thank you for the informative discussions. I'm from India, so I just wanted to understand that is there learning that we are taking from other parts of the world? Because I saw a lot of work is happening on the LAC. Is it because you're representing government? Is there a reference that we are taking as current benchmark in the world? Or is LAC already at that benchmark and other parts of the world have to take lessons? So because we're having some conversations for the last 2 days, and we're not able to see what is the right now, what is the benchmark? 2025 was the benchmark to reach, and of course 2030 will be another benchmark. Thanks.
Thank you. What's your name?
I'm Shobha.
Shobha. Anyone in particular that you want to ask? Okay, then it's on a voluntary basis. I don't know, Fletchy, do you have something?
Love the question. Yes, I think each country can do reference at some area, okay? So if you want reference for regulation, you have the European Union, that's it. But I love your question because if we want to bring indicators, I don't know if you have read the Circularity report, and for Latin America is a headache because we don't have enough data. So the Circularity report basically says that which the few information and data that I have, I might say that circularity in Latin America is around that, but not sure. And so the most important thing, yeah, is to have the reference, and we want to talk the same language. Also around the indicators. So the recommendation is to look for international indicators and try to bring them to your country. So day by day, we will be talking the same language around also circularity, and that make it easier to compare performance for the countries and to improve the quality of the data related to the circular economy. But depends on the scale that you want. If we are talking about national circular economy roadmaps, that's it, that's the answer. But if you work for the private sector, probably you will have to refine your own indicators according to your company, to your needs, to your interests. So indicators can be so ambitious or so functional, whatever you decide, whatever you want, or at the regional scale. But if you are working for a country, you have to look at the international indicators adopted by United Nations, you can see the CPI, the Circular Transitions Indicators for WCEF, and you can also have the indicators implemented by circular economy. That you have a lot of other ideas and the international organizations doing that work. And you can also take a look at the countries roadmap.
Español, ¿ok? Voy a darle espacio, no sé quién traduce. Ok. Estamos en. Yo creo que uno de los retos más importantes en temas de seguimiento es la métrica.
So she's saying that one of the most important challenges is the metrics that you're applying.
En Costa Rica, dentro de la Estrategia Nacional de Economía Circular, se incluyeron cerca de 80 indicadores que fueron validados con el sector, con los sectores que estaban participando desde el inicio, que se construyó en conjunto con los actores del sector privado, del gobierno y otros como la academia, para que fuera un instrumento que realmente tuviera impacto.
No, antes, ¿en qué documento fue? Okay. So in the National Strategy of Circular Economy, they have worked on up to 80 indicators, and they were constructed together with the public sector, with the private sector, but also academia.
El reto es siempre cómo construir esa línea base y ponerse de acuerdo. Obviamente existen muchas diferencias en cuanto a lo que ahora decía la compañera de que cuál es la meta final que queremos. Porque por supuesto que los actores tal vez algunos no van a querer que sea demasiado fuerte, porque pueden verse comprometidos, pero tampoco podemos ponerla muy fácil. Entonces,
So yeah, another challenge is to have a common baseline and to really agree on a baseline, but also on a common objective or goal, because there are different interests at play, right? And not all the same actors will be in favor of the same goals, or some would like to have them a little bit lower, some a bit higher. So it's kind of like this consultation and a negotiation process.
Nos dimos cuenta que una de las formas de normalizar mejor las estadísticas o los indicadores es ver qué otros indicadores existían en otras estrategias del país, por ejemplo, consumo y producción sustentable, biodiversidad, empleo, etcétera, para integrarlas y darles también ese seguimiento, pero con una visión hacia la economía circular.
So yeah, what they did in Costa Rica was to look at other strategies from like biodiversity, job promotion, and others. Consumption and sustainable consumption and production, and then see what kind of indicators worked in that space to kind of do, transfer the lessons learned from there to the circular economy strategy.
Sí, realizamos un benchmarking internacional para ver qué existía y realmente no existían muchos países con indicadores claros. Toda la construcción se basó como en esas líneas para poder tener parte. Sin embargo, eso no significa que sobre la marcha se puedan ajustar y mejorar o inclusive cambiar, porque la idea es que sea un instrumento vivo también que garantice la incorporación de la circularidad, pero que sobre la marcha, cuando se logren metas y alcancen los indicadores, su norte, podamos reformar y ampliar y mejorar.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So also they did an international benchmarking, but they found out there was not too much that they could build on. So it was really your own process, right? But also Cynthia was saying that it's okay to start with something and then you can later adapt and adjust along the way. So nothing is set in stone. So also like I think it's important to start the work, right? And then you go from there. That was all? Okay.
The one final point, the quantity doesn't mean quality. So that doesn't matter if you don't have too many indicators. You just can have a little bit of indicators. The most important thing is that you follow and that you measure and that you implement. Okay, just go follow what you can manage. You can implement.
Thank you. Guillermo, is there something you would like to add? Final words. It's your moment to shine.
Well, maybe it's a little bit on the, because the indicators really try to answer questions around very specific circular economy strategies. And when we talk about the outer loop, so everything that goes around recycling, I think we all know that that's not going to do a lot in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's good, it's important from a waste perspective, but it's not going to reduce a lot of emissions. The inner loops, and one of the, I think, top ranking answers on the review was the lifetime extension. It's an inner loop that's more difficult to measure. I think that's also where some of the indicator challenges lie. When it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, we can measure it. We can map out all these material flows, and we can even calibrate them with the IPCC data and make sure that they somehow match. So we say from a greenhouse gas perspective, it is really possible. Sometimes challenging. But our experience is that even small island states, countries that have relatively little capacity to collect statistics, they have sufficient data to make that, say, bottom-up perspective on greenhouse gas emissions, which we need if we want to identify and estimate the impact of certain economic emissions.
Like, sorry, I just want to add here.
Yep.
I'm so sorry that it takes time, but so we are comparing the SDG ratings, right? Every year, SDG rating, every country is being rated, and the 17 goals are having its own inner markers. So it's kind of reached a standard, and we look forward to that rating per country. So similarly, is CE really advancing to that? I think WCEF discussion is going to happen in India, and it's going to be a 10th year. And 10 years is a long time for all of us to be participating in these conversations. So do we have a framework already wherein these ranking? Because starting is some ranking, right? Within our country, we need to see what are the rankings, what are the indicators. So I think it's a little confusing, both for the government, private sector within our country, of course, across country, even more overwhelming. So just trying to see if already there is direction, because you are the experts and you're working with government. We work with GIZ in India. So just curious to see where this is going, because it's not only the reverse supply chains, even the production supply chains, outer and inner loop in this discussion.
Final answers, and then I think we have to wrap up. Who wants to answer this?
I think that we don't have that like a unique list of metrics and indicators related to the circular economy and international unique adopted methodology for traceability and that's but because we are learning, circular economy is younger than climate change and we are learning, but the most important thing is to see the beauty of the processes is evolving and is changing day by day. So we still don't have that the standard methodology, the IPCC equivalent for the circular economy, we don't, but it's under construction, under development day by day. And I think that we will maybe in the future have that worldwide methodology implementation, but we still don't because we are testing, we are piloting how to implement indicators, how to follow, but the most important thing is that we are moving. And if we do a good job, our final result is to see the next circularity report, the global report saying that circularity is increasing, but we are not currently doing so. We are just in the beautiful steps. We have to go for the action and concrete solutions and results.
Rápidamente, yo creo que una de las lecciones que tenemos que tener como es que hay que normalizar ciertos datos para poder ser entre nosotros. Existen esfuerzos, ya aún falta mucho por validar, por ejemplo, empleo verde y circularidad. ¿Cómo vamos a medirlo? ¿Qué características debe tener? Ese es un tema que pues siempre he mencionado, por ejemplo, en la Organización Mundial del Trabajo, de que existe, se habla de las encuestas, pero no se ha hecho todavía el dato a nivel, por ejemplo, de un censo para poner un dato sistema. Perdón, con el fin de que podamos comparar. Y esta reto no solamente con el tema del empleo verde que podemos generar con la economía circular, sino también el tema de que estamos entendiendo también en las empresas privadas con las reducciones, el enfoque de la circularidad, los encadenamientos. Creo que hay que tener ciertas métricas que algunas ISO ya están avanzando, ¿verdad? En los comités de las ISOs de economía circular, pero hay un reto muy importante de comenzar a que los países también validen, y esto es a la hora de que incluyan dentro de sus NDCs la economía circular y la métrica con claridad. Creo que hay que hacer ese esfuerzo también para poder medir realmente esas reducciones que estamos haciendo y los impactos que queremos ver en el mundo en cuanto a la extracción, a la reducción de extracción, reducción de emisiones, reducción de agua y también las pautas de consumo y la generación de empleo. Pues para mí es muy importante la métrica y por supuesto que la hagamos a nivel comparable.
Yeah, I cannot translate everything word by word, but I mean the focus was on the metrics and also on the comparability of data, also with other topics. Yeah, so I think that was an interesting point to add. Now, the ladies had the final word in the end. I'm sorry, but I think it was all valuable insights. Thank you so much to the panelists. Thank you so much to the audience, to the other speakers today, Petra, Martin, Inga, and of course to you, to the audience, to the online audience. I hope we were hearable. Not, I apologize. And yeah, I also invite you now to engage in some more networking in exchanging here or also online. So yeah, thank you so much for coming and have a nice afternoon.